We have just this minute finished our 10-shot mini-campaign in Daggerheart.
Can't you see we've been crying?
Yeah, it's the new TTRPG from Darrington Press. That's the Critical Role folks. One-word summaries, please, from each of you.
Emotive.
Surprising.
Delightful. My name's Rich.
I'm David.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is Renegade Rolls. Over the past few weeks, we've been playing a 10-shot of the open beta of Daggerheart. The intention was to play 10 sessions, playing at levels 1 to level 10, and try to use as many of the mechanics as we could. We got together thanks to the Rollway group, who put on free TTRPG evenings in and around Glasgow. Lots of love to Fallon and the others. Before we share the tale of our campaign and our thoughts on the system, a super speedy Daggerheart summary in just 30 seconds. Here we go. It's a narrative-focused TTRPG in a high fantasy setting with light-ish rules and a focus on the player characters and their connections to each other. It's got a cool array of heritages and backgrounds and some interesting classes. For every roll, players get 2 d12s, one with hope, one fear. They roll both and add them together. If the hope dice is higher, that's called a roll with hope, and extra good stuff happens. Bad stuff happens on a roll with fear. If they're the same, it's a crit. Stats are agility, strength, finesse, presence, and knowledge. Players gain hope if they roll well, or they do cool stuff. Fear is what allows the GM to do cool stuff themselves and push the story along. So the story. Delvonzio and Whiskers found themselves in the middle of something big. The walls between the worlds had begun to tear, with strange creatures pushing through the gaps, with elements of the circles below, as well as elements from elsewhere. They were asked by the Marshal of the city of Jadestown to investigate something weird to the north. Then, a tenth of the city's population was suddenly taken over by an eldritch force, and began marching to the north, so our heroes had to follow. They followed this horde of what got called the Eyeless to an ancient and abandoned city of Whitecairn, where they found something old, a teleportation sphere which is bringing the Eyeless somewhere even older and stranger, the interplanar bridge of Aya's Welcome. Here they came face to face with the entity controlling the horde, Zure, embodying zeal. This could easily have been one of the domains of the Hallows above, but after being excluded from that place, all that passion and lust for life turned into something darker and twisted. He was trying to use the Eyeless to reopen the pathway between the realms by using them to reconstruct the bridge. Our heroic heroes defeated him, but at a great cost. Our favourite moment of the campaign came when a Void Worm, which was a reskinned young ice dragon, attacked the party out of an alley in Jadestown. As the party defeated it, I went slightly off script and gave it a death burst. Not rules as written, but it seemed thematic.
By that point in the fight, we were both very close to death, and it immediately became apparent that Whiskers would not survive this encounter if it played out evenly for the both of us.
We did the maths.
We did the maths. And Delvonzio, being the character that he was, a very noble, self-sacrificial type at the best of times, there was really only one decision at that point, so he threw himself in front of Whiskers and shielded them with his body. 3 feet tall though it is. Yeah, we got to play out some of the death mechanics, which was rather good fun. The final option for death is a straight roll of the Duality die, wherein if your hope die is higher, then you come back, and if your fear die is higher, then you are gone. Which was ridiculously tense at the time, because I don't know if you both recall, but my hope die was cocked, and I had to re-roll the hope die, knowing that it probably might not work. Thankfully it did, and Delvonzio barely scraped by.
Even though it was something that was directly involved with me and Whiskers, it always felt as if it was a good moment for the character to get to experience exactly how much they connected with Delvonzio and how much it was actually sort of the connection between characters is kind of one of the most important things to me when it comes to role-playing games, and having it work out within a way that works with the mechanics is kind of a plus. It's one of those things that you don't get to see in a lot of different systems.
I definitely think that's one of the major advantages Daggerheart provided, was in the character setup, the extra encouragement to build the connections between the characters and like shared experiences and shared histories. It kind of really encourages that kind of like connecting roleplay and sort of cooperative roleplay in a way that other systems don't.
And even though it's not the first time I've seen something like that, it's honestly one of those things I always look for. And even when it's not in the system, I think I probably should add something like that to assist to whatever I play. Daggerheart puts a lot more emphasis on the ways in which the characters interact with each other, how the relationships.
Certainly, one of the things that I really appreciated with Daggerheart was, like Stephanie had said, the extra emphasis on kind of roleplay aspects and intercharacter interactions, not just a character creation point, but also just generally throughout the game. Like a lot of playing as a guardian myself, a lot of our domain deck cards, especially for Valor, were very roleplay based.
From my side of the screen, in combat it was super easy to manage my adversaries. Everything I needed for them was on a single page in the book, and I took to making index cards for them, which made it even slicker. I hadn't realised how much I liked this until I went back to running a session of D&D. Because Daggerheart doesn't have a common list of spells or an exhaustive list of conditions, there's no need to turn to different pages in the rulebook to find out what each NPC can do. I also love the character creation and connections. I already steal them for running it in other systems. For me, it's a catalyst to collaboration and giving the characters baked in reasons to adventure together. It's also a source of GM fuel to look back on and see if there are shared events which could come back to haunt the characters. The initiative-less system I think surprised everyone in how slickly it worked at the table. The rising action of starting combat kept on going as we didn't have to wait to roll initiative. I just had to say, what do you do? The concept of duality in Daggerheart is super cool, and it inspired me to make my own polytheistic pantheon, making a deity from each domain, which then became central to the main campaign story arc. That's a lot of praise, but there are a few negatives as well. A con, which won't matter for long, is that it's just not finished yet. Thank you, Stephanie, for your printing and scissor skills every week, but I really want a set of laminated dry erase cards for everything on the player's side, as well as cards for my adversaries. An actual downside that I hope will be addressed is that the game slowed to a crawl when the players took damage at high levels. I first noticed it at about level 4, but because players have options every time on how to deal with incoming damage, any time they took a hit, they would take time to find the optimal outcome for them. Although, as they had a limited loadout, they were always quick on their turns and calculating damage dealt to the baddies. High level D&D has the opposite problem where incoming damage is resolved pretty fast, but players take ages deciding on what to do on their turn. In summary, even though it's not perfect, I absolutely love Daggerheart. It might just be my favourite TTRPG to run, and I can't wait to create a full campaign in the system as soon as the game is fully released. My name's Rich.
I'm David.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is Renegade Rolls.
Intro music.